Alright, sorry about that. Um, Battery died out at 15 minutes and 57 seconds. But, like I was saying, basically Anna, after this all takes place, goes to Eliza to ask for her permission, ask for her blessing in the marriage because of the proposal. And Eliza's basically like, no, I can't. No, I'm not going to do that. And of course, Anna's upset about it, wondering why she won't do it. And she basically says something that obviously makes sense. It's like, wait a minute. You just met this guy in one day. This is the first day you've met him, and now you're going to marry him? It doesn't make sense. It's not right. And of course, this basically causes a big argument, and Anna finally wondering why are you acting like this? Why you've been acting like this for the past few years? What's going on? And then that's basically when the powers, after Anna takes off Eliza's glove, one of Eliza's gloves, that's when, like I said, everything starts to get out of control, and basically Eliza's powers are revealed, much to the horror and shock to everybody. And things just get worse and worse from there. Everybody, even outside of the castle, sees her for the first time with the powers, and they get shocked and scared. And basically what she does is she exiles herself away from the kingdom. And how does she do this? Well, she basically steps on the water, on the ocean, if you will, or whatever it is, the river, the lake. And using her powers, she basically uses her ice powers to run across that lake and into the wilderness and up into the northern mountains. And of course, Anna feels guilty about this, feels upset about this, and decides, you know what, it's my fault, I'm going to go after her. And she leaves Hans in charge of the kingdom. Now, this is an interesting situation, because that's kind of interesting because for some of you that may have seen the movie, you pretty much know what's going on, right? Well, anyway, Anna goes after her sister, and after a few mishaps where she gets basically the horse runs away, and she gets buried in a pile of snow, and she slides into a puddle of water. She's kind of practically freezing a little bit, like running, kind of like skipping over to, like, I guess you could say, this little wood shop. Where they sell some, I guess you could say, the very, very Norwegian, very, very small Norwegian kind of version of a Sears, if you will, or J.C. Penney's, or whatever you want to call it, Big Lots, whatever, or Walmart, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what you call it. Basically, let's just say it's a very, it's kind of like a very, very small version of a travel plaza. Let's put it that way. With a lot more, with a few amenities here and there. So anyway, while she's at this place, she meets up with now the older Christopherson. And of course we do see Christopherson later on as he's older, during the day of the coronation. And we also see his pet reindeer, Svev, grown up as well. So again, anyway, she meets up with Christopherson. Long story short, she basically helps him buy the things he needs because he didn't have the money to pay for it. He's like, well, wait a minute, you're charging me this? You're charging me this much, that much for this? That's not right. So she basically pays for it for him, in exchange that at that moment, after she gives him the supplies and everything, that he takes her to the northern mountain. Now, while they're going together, she basically explains why her sister is acting like this. And even he gets the reaction that Eliza had towards her. It's like, wait a minute, you're going to marry somebody you just met? He has that same reaction. So anyway, while this is all happening, Eliza is finally getting up to the top of this mountain, and she breaks out into this, what I consider one of the best musical numbers Disney has ever had in an animated film in a long time. And the musical number is Let Go. And if you disagree with me on that, I don't know where your sense of music could be. Because this is one of the best musical numbers they've had in a Disney animated film. CGI, traditional 2D, the blending of both. this is one of the best songs they've had in a long time, a really long time. And the visuals for it, when she's singing this song and basically saying she's now accepting the fact that everybody knows, and you know what, that's fine, she's out on her own, basically accepting, because basically she's singing the fact that she's accepting that everybody knows now, and that now she's kind of free from this burden that she was going to have, and she could just be who she wants to be what she wants to be. And again, the animation visuals in this song number are just spectacular. And again, it's one of the best musical numbers they've had in a long time, bar none. So, anyway, during the journey, they meet up with Olaf. And Anna, and I'm sure this is going to get a lot of people. Anna suddenly, it takes her a second, but she suddenly remembers who Olaf is. It's like, wait a minute. It's like, I do know who you are. It's like she remembers, but then, and again, I know that's going to kind of upset people. Like, wait a minute, I thought she wasn't supposed to remember anything. But she remembers that. So that kind of gives you a clue that she does have an idea that maybe her sisters had these powers. It's just that she's never really known about it, if you will. She's never really known. Now, again, doing all this, they encounter wolves, they get away from them, and they finally reach the Ice Palace, if you will, and Anna does go in by herself and encounter her sister. And basically, after a bit of an exchange, the reprise of First Time and Forever, basically a little bit of a disagreement, if you will, a bit of an exchange and all that, Eliza trying to get her sister no, please, this is, basically trying to tell her sister, no, look, this is the best for what it is right now, this is the best thing right now, we can't, trying to convince her just to go, she accidentally hits her sister in the chest with her powers. She accidentally hits her sister in the chest with her powers. And at the same time, she creates this snow monster, but try to say, look, you are going to leave, even if I have to have something throw you out. And that's what happens. She creates a snow monster that basically throws out Kristofferson, Olaf, and Anna. Now, Anna, of course, is not too taken kindly about that, and basically throws a snowball at the monster, and the monster gives chase, and basically it's doing all this, chase and everything. They jump off a cliff, land in some soft snow, and it's here where Kristofferson notices that Anna's hair is changing. It's starting to turn white. And she's getting weaker because of this. So Eliza finds out about this, knows what she's done, and even wants to stay in more seclusion. Basically, now she's thinking, oh my God, I've just done something tragic. So, again, long story short, Kristofferson has to take Anna to the troll people, and the troll people at first think, oh, you brought a girlfriend now, you brought a fiance and all that, blah, blah, blah. And they go into their musical number, they kind of try to convince Anna that, hey, this is the band for you, or this guy's this, and they finally get to a point where, again, the power, basically because, the ice powers hit Anna's heart, she gets more weaker, and the Troll King basically has to come out and say, basically says, hey, if an act of real true love is not performed, is not done very soon, she will freeze solid. She will become complete ice. So, doing all this, the horse returns back to the kingdom. You kind of see that Hans is, he is taking charge and everything, but you can also kind of see that something's not right there, if you will. And basically, he leads a group of men to find Eliza, if you will, to go find the Snow Queen. And of course we have this other character who's sort of like, I guess, the Duke of Winchester or something like that. And he basically sends his 2 men with Hans and basically orders them, hey, if you see the Snow Queen, take her out. So basically after finally encountering the Snow Queen and everything and capturing her, Hans basically says, look, I will do what I can to have them let you go. Now you might think to yourself, you'll think, well, wait a minute. Hans is going to do what it takes to have her let go? Then why would he have it like this anyway? You know, what's going on? So what happens is Kristofferson gets Anna back to the castle. And everything. And she finally meets up with Hans, and she explains the situation to Hans, and this is where the twist comes in. We find out that Hans is actually what they call a wolf in sheep's clothing. Because basically he reveals to Anna that his whole plan was to marry her for the kingdom. Not for love, but to marry her so he can gain the throne. Because apparently where he's at, he tells her, look, he basically flat out tells her the truth. He says, look, where I'm from, I wouldn't have stood a chance to be a king. I wouldn't have stood a chance to get on that throne while I'm in my kingdom. But here, I have the ultimate chance. So basically, he decides to let Anna freeze to death, frame Eliza for her apparent death, for Anna's apparent death, and take the throne. And it's during all this that, because of her emotions getting stronger and everything, basically because of her emotions, her powers are getting stronger, the storm is just getting stronger, and it's at the same time that Kristofferson realizes, thanks to Sweb, oh, you know, he does love Anna, so he's got to go to Anna and help her. And it's during all this that Hans meets up with Anna. I mean, not Anna, but with Eliza. Lies to Eliza, just like he did to the I guess you could say the royal personnel in the castle, that Anna's dead. Anna, of course, thanks to Olaf, who built a fire for her and everything, helps her escape the castle just in time for Anna to meet up with Kristofferson, because when Eliza basically hears that her sister is dead, the storm suddenly subsides. And again, this allows Anna to see Kristofferson, and just as they're about to meet up, Anna hears a sword being pulled out, looks to her side, sees Hans is about to kill her sister, and then comes the climax. Basically, she stops Hans just at the same time that she's starting to, almost simultaneously, as she basically freezes solid. She basically freezes and becomes an ice statue of herself, if you will. And of course, this stops, of course, and what's funny about this is it breaks Hans' sword. And I like the little touch as well. As soon as she turns to ice and breaks the sword, you see like this little breath of, little breath of air or something like that come out of the mouth. Like, that's it. You know, there goes her last breath of life. Like her soul just left her or something. I don't know. That was a really unique touch there. And of course you get the grieving and everything, but then what happens, and of course I know some people might say, well, this is kind of like a cop-out, kind of like Deus Ex Machina, whatever you want to call it. What happens is Anna starts to thaw out. And it hits Olaf, and Olaf realizes, along with Kristofferson, and even Eliza finds out about this, that Anna's sacrifice to save her sister was the true act of love that needed to break the curse, break the curse on Anna, basically melt the ice that had frozen her completely. So overall, basically Eliza realizes that love is basically the best way to control her powers. That if she shows love to not only her sister but to everybody, she's going to be able to properly control her powers and not have to hide anymore. So basically, that's the end. That's basically what the movie is. And Hans, he's basically escorted back to his kingdom, imprisoned. If you basically thrown into a jail, little holding cell on a boat, going back to his kingdom, and of course the Duke or whatever he is, a Winchester or whatever, gets word that the Queen no longer wants to do any business with his kingdom. So overall, the movie is really good, and they do end it with, of course, Kristofferson and Anna getting together, and they ended with Eliza properly using her powers to not only give the people an ice rink, if you will, and freeze up some of the water fountains to make it look like an ice rink, but it ends with Eliza and Anna dancing together in the ice, kind of skating together in the ice, with Eliza giving her some skates. And Olaf, of course, he gets his wish by staying as he is. He gets a little cloud of snow, and he's able to remain around during the summer. But overall, that is Frozen. Now, I know a lot of you are thinking, man, talk about spoilers. You just talked about the whole movie. You just talked about the whole movie scene by scene. No one has to go see it. Oh, believe me, there'll be people that'll see it. Because there's a lot of people out there that will listen to the non-spoiler reviews, will watch and listen to the non-spoiler reviews, read the non-spoiler reviews, and then want to see the movie for what the non-spoiler reviews talk about. That's why a lot of people like myself always say, hey, look, that's why a lot of people like myself and others out there, like Doug Walker and his brother Rob on Sibling Rivalry. That's why people like Louis Lindbergh, Linkara. That's why Black Nerd, Andre. And that's why all of them always give people like 5 to 10 seconds to either go to another website or go to another video, or just mute it and just try to make out what we're saying. But yeah, that's basically why when we address and say, hey, it's a spoiler edition, watch at your own risk. If you want to be spoiled, that's your choice. You don't want to be spoiled, don't watch, or don't read any of these spoiler reviews on Google, or don't watch any of the spoiler reviews on YouTube or Daily Motion or Blimp. That's why that's why we always give them 5 to 10 seconds to either leave the channel, go to another video, leave the video, leave the channel, go to another channel or video, or go to another website. So, yeah, I'm betting on anything that we'll probably have a lot of viewers for this. People like me, Doug, Black Nerd, and everybody that does a spoiler review on this. I'm pretty sure we'll all have some viewers. We'll pretty much have a lot of viewers, if you will. So, but I'm guaranteeing a lot of those viewers are going to be those that have seen the movie, and even if they haven't, they're going to probably want to know why people say this, and they're going to... Because here's the other benefit about spoilers. People will be like, okay, well, why does this person feel about it this way? I'm going to go see it for myself, even if I do know what's going to happen. Because, let's face it, they'll probably hear about a lot of videos and all that, and pretty much the spoilers will go like, poof! The spoilers will leave. They're like, okay, it's like, okay, they'll be like, okay, I saw the spoiler review, but I can't remember what that person said. Anyway, though, getting back on track, Frozen is a good movie. There's no denying it. It is a good film. It definitely lives up to all the positive criticism that it gets. The masterpiece, best animation since Lion King, and all that. I mean, again, with Tangled, they definitely took another leap in that blending of 2D CGI animation, and here they really took it to that next level. I mean, because basically what you saw here, obviously you could see in a traditional 2D with CGI effects, but this basically took the boundaries of CGI and the blending of CGI and 2D to that next level. That's what Frozen did. And again, it has one of the best musical scores and songs in a long time. And again, to me, the best musical number in a long time when it comes to a Disney animated film, CGI, traditional 2D, or blending, has to be Let Go by Eliza in the film. I mean, I like the soundtrack so much that I got the soundtrack, downloaded it, if you will, courtesy, I guess you could say, of iTunes, I guess you could say, /KA Torrents. Yeah. Someone bought this off iTunes, bought the soundtrack off iTunes, put it on a disc like I did, and then probably put it in... Well, basically somebody bought it off iTunes and pretty much torrented it. So, that's how I got it. But anyway, it's a great soundtrack. It's worth buying. I highly recommend. Or if you can find a torrent, go ahead and torrent it. But it is highly recommendable. Again, the movie is great. One of the best I've seen in a while. And again, I'm not going to be surprised with the lackluster effect that a lot of animation films have had this year. I mean, Turbo, I guess, was okay. Croods was okay. Epic was alright. Again, like I said, Croods was fine. Epic was fine. Turbo, I'm pretty sure was okay. Smurfs 2, if you will, was alright. But I'm guaranteeing you right now, Planes was good too. I guarantee you Disney's going to lead the pack. Disney's going to walk out with several. I'm not saying they will, but I get the strong feeling Disney's going to walk out with several Academy Awards in February. I've got that feeling. They're going to leave with Best Original Song. They're going to leave with Best Original Score. And they're going to leave with Best Animated Picture. That's what's going to happen. And you know what? I would not be surprised if Frozen does get one of those 12 or something nominations for Best Picture. I would not be surprised. Not saying it would happen, but I would not be surprised. And you know what? Frozen actually is one of the longest, it's probably the longest right now of the modern Disney animated films. 108 minutes, folks. 108 minutes. Pretty much longer than Tangled. It's pretty much longer than Tangled. As far as the traditional Disney animated films are, Disney animated classics, it is the longest. Not collaboration of Disney and Pixar, but just traditional Disney animation films, classic films, it is the longest, as far as I know. At 108 minutes, that's pretty long. But again, it really lives up to what everybody says, really lives up to expectations, and despite the controversy about the feminist thing, and despite the controversy that people want to try to give it about, the feminist stuff, and the incense, if you will. Controversy aside, this is a good film. I highly recommend, for those that have seen it, see it again. I probably will down the line. And for those of you that have not seen it and yet watched this 2-part spoiler review, I highly recommend go see it so you can have a better idea of what I was talking about. And all I can say, next month or next year, Big 6, if that's the next traditional Disney animated film, Big 6 has got a huge, has got big skates a big figure skates, or ice skates, if you will, to feel. Get it? Ice skates. But again, highly recommended. Perfect 10 out of 10 on this one. Disney really outshined themselves, really outdid. And again, they're really going to have to follow through with Big 6 next year, which is not just a Disney film, it's also a Marvel Comics film. So we'll have to see if they adapt that well into a traditional Disney animated feature. But I highly recommend it. I highly recommend getting the soundtrack. And that's all I'm going to say. So thank you all for watching. Take your time in watching this two-part video. This two-part spoiler review edition of Frozen. And I will talk to you all later. Peace out. God bless.